Hello students, now I will discuss a famous poem. The name of the poem is OZYMANDIAS. The name of the poet is P.B.SHELLEY. P.B. Shelley. He was born on 4th August 1792 and died 8th July 1822. He was an English writer who is considered one of the major English romantic poets. He was radical in his poetry and as well as in his political and social views. Shelley did not achieve fame during his lifetime, but after his death he became an important influence and character in the history of English literature, and he is as famous as Robert Browning, Charles Swinburne, Thomas Hardy, W.B. Yeats and many other poets. The poem, he wrote many poems. Most famous shorter poems are Ozymandias, written in 1818, Ode to the West Wind, 1819, To a Skylark, 1820, The Cloud, 1820. The major long visionary poems are Prometheus Unbound, 1820, Alastair or the Spirit of Solitude, 1816. He wrote political and dramatic works. Some of them are The Mask of Anarchy, 1819, The Cenci, 1818, and his famous prose was his famous prose is A Defense of Poetry, written 1821. This poem, Ozymandias, has exactly 14 lines. It is a traditional sonnet, which is specially famous for its content and for its form. This 14-line poem is written in iambic pentameter. The rhyming structure of the poem, is not usual. It is quite unusual. The rhyming structure goes like this: A B SE, DC ED EF EF. Actually, it is not the traditional or copybook Petrarch on Shakespearean sonnet. Nothing matter. It is beautifully read, it is beautifully written, and it can be read very beautifully, and people or the reader enjoyed the poet both for its form and content. Enjoy this poem both for its content and its form. Now, how the poem goes. I met a traveler from an antique land. আমি একজন প্রাচীন দেশ থেকে আসা এক ভ্রমণকারীর সাথে দেখা করেছিলাম, কবি বলছেন, who said, two vast and trunkless leg of stone, দুটো বড় এবং দুটি বিশাল এবং ধর বা শরীর ছাড়া পা, শরীরটা ছিল না কিন্তু পাটগুলো ছিল, stand in the desert, সমুদ্রে দাঁড়িয়েছে, মরুভূমিতে দাঁড়িয়েছিল, near them on the sand, তাদের কাছাকাছি বালি ছিল, মরুভূমি বালি থাকাটাই স্বাভাবিক, half sunk shattered visage lies whose frown, অর্ধেক ডুবে থাকা একটি চূর্ণ বিচূর্ণ মুখমণ্ডল যার কপালে কুচকানো ভাব, and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command, এবং কুঞ্চিত ঠোঁট এবং নির্মম আদেশের বিদ্রূপ, ওই ঠোঁট দিয়ে অনেক নির্মম আদেশ, ওই মুখ অনেক নির্মম আদেশ দিয়েছে, ফলে ওই ঠোঁটে যেন তার সেগুলো আঁকা আছে. Tell that its sculpture well those passion read, বোঝা যায় যে ভাস্কর বা যে খোদাই করেছে এই মূর্তিটা সে আবেগগুলোকে খুব ভালোভাবে পড়তে পেরেছিলেন. Which yet survive and stamped on these lifeless things, যেটা আজও টিকে আছে এবং এই প্রাণহীন বস্তুর গায়ে অদ্ভুতভাবে সেটা এখনও টিকে আছে. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, যে হাত তাদের উপহাস করেছিল এবং সেই হৃদয় যা তাদের লালন করেছিল, মানে যে ভাস্কর ও রাজার কথা বলা হচ্ছে, কেউ একটা এই মূর্তিটা বানিয়েছিল এবং ওজিম্যান্ডিয়াস একজন রাজা, তার সম্পর্কে বলা হচ্ছে. অ্যান্ড অন দ্য পেডেস্টাল দিস ওয়ার্ডস অ্যাপিয়ার, এবং বেদির ওপর লেখা আছে, মাই নেম ইজ ওজিম্যান্ডিয়াস কিং অফ কিংস, আমার নাম ওজিম্যান্ডিয়াস রাজাদের রাজা, রাজাধিরাজ আমি। লুক অন মাই ওয়ার্কস, ইয়ে মাইটি অ্যান্ড ডেসপেয়ার, হে শক্তিশালী ব্যক্তিরা আমার কাজগুলোর দিকে দেখো, তাকাও এবং হতাশ হও। নিজেকে অপরাজেয় হিসেবে তুলে ধরার এই অহংকার এখানে ফুটে উঠেছে। নাথিং বিসাইডস রিমেইন রাউন্ড দ্য ডিকে, এর আশেপাশে আর বিশেষ কিছু অবশিষ্ট নেই সেই ধ্বংসাবশেষের চারপাশে। যে মূর্তিটা যে ভগ্নদশায় আছে তার কথা বলা হয়েছে। অফ দ্যাট কোলোসাল রেক বাউন্ডলেস অ্যান্ড বেয়ার, সে বিশাল ধ্বংসস্তূপের সীমাহীন এবং রিক্ত সে বিশাল ধ্বংসস্তূপ। দ্য লোন অ্যান্ড দ্য লেভেল স্যান্ড স্ট্রেচ ফার অ্যাওয়ে, একাকী এবং সমতল বালুভূমিতে বহুদূর পর্যন্ত বিস্তৃত হয়ে আছে। এই হচ্ছে 14 লাইনের বাংলা মানে। অ্যান্ড নাও we will discuss the title. The title Ozymandias is perfectly justified. The entire poem revolves round, the entire poem pivots around the ruined statue and the shattered ego of the single historical figure Ozymandias. Though it is metaphoric, still here we read of the Ozymandias. Ozymandias is a Greek name for the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II. The poem explicitly focuses on the remains of the monuments in the desert. Everything, each and every line vibrates with the Ozymandias, the king of kings. By using the king's actual name, Shelley creates a universal symbol for all arrogant rulers who believe their power and achievements will last forever. They believe that their power is immortal. The name evokes immense power and grand scale, but it is contrasted immediately with the shattered visage and ruin, lifeless ruin. The title serves to mock the tyrant's hubris. The tyrants always think that they are immortal, they will live forever, but Ozymandias teaches us different. While the name Ozymandias remains, everything he builds was been erased by the time and the sand. Nothing remains, though he tried everything. And the central theme of Ozymandias is the inevitable decline of human power. The inevitable decline of the human power and pride also in the face of time and nature. Nothing survives, nothing is immortal. Everything is mortal, everything is things to decay. Fame, property, life, everything. We witness political power, empires, wealth, and which are purely temporary. No matter how mighty the ruler is, their authority will eventually fade. The poem highlights the arrogance of the king. The arrogance of the king who believed that his achievements were permanent, which is the irony of the poem. The time completely erased his boastful words. The time completely erased his everything except this lifeless statue. And this lifeless statue is also not in full form. It was destroyed. It was in dilapidated condition. The supremacy of nature and time. The supremacy of nature and time is the key word of this poem. But while the king and his empire vanished, the sculpture's art survived. Ironically, the passion and the flow of the tyrant are preserved only because of the artist's works. If the artist or the sculpture did not capture all his emotions and beautifully made this statue, none of us would know who was Ozymandias and how was he, and what was his philosophy. The philosophy is very simple, like all the tyrant, all the rulers, all the kings and all the emperors, but we can easily relocate and remember these things. The tone of Ozymandias shifts subtly as the narrative unfolds, but it is primarily detached, ironic and solemn. There is a powerful sharp contrast between the king's boastful declaration and the reality of his ruined statue, because nothing is immortal, all are things to be decay. The poem mocks the pharaohs. The poem mocks the pharaohs. Their supreme arrogance by placing his word next to an empty desert. The empty desert symbolizes the loneliness, the loss of power. Shelley does not judge the king directly. Instead, he uses a multi-layered frame narrative. This distance makes the observation feel like an objective, universal law of nature. Because Ozymandias was a real king, Ozymandias was a real character, Ozymandias was arrogant, Ozymandias was ruthless, Ozymandias was boastful, but the universal law, the law of time, destroys everything. The imagery of shattered visage, lifeless things, or the decay creates a melancholic mood. Really, it is melancholy because the king built it with all its effort. It reflects on the grim reality that everything human build will eventually turn to dust. Again, I will say, nothing in the life is immortal. And the final line shifts to a quiet atmospheric tone that emphasizes the vastness and calm supremacy of the tone and the level sands over human ego. Human ego is one of the source of this boastfulness, this ruthlessness, this tyranny, and so on. So time also teaches a good lesson to this human ego. Though Ozymandias is not present when we are reading this poem, still we can learn why Ozymandias, all efforts, all boastfulness, all ruthlessness, all wealth are meaningless. They are nothing but futile things. And Shelley uses a variety of powerful literary devices in Ozymandias to make it attractive and to express his feelings. Irony is a driving force in the poem. The grand words of the pedestal boasts eternal power, but they are surrounded by absolute nothingness and ruin. The king of kings, Ozymandias, the king of kings, but now he is just a lifeless ruin. Again, we can see the imageries. Two vast and trunkless lakes, the lone and level sands, the beautiful imagery. And besides, and moreover, we see there is a story between the story. Shelley draws the story of a traveler, the story draws the story of a sculpture and the king. There are three characters and their stories in this poem. And again we find, like all poems, alliteration. The alliterations are boundless and bare, cold command, the lone and level. These are beautiful use of alliteration. Synedoche plays a beautiful role here. A device where a part of something represents the whole. That is called synedoche. The examples are the hand that mocked item and heart that fed. The hand represents the artistic skill of the sculpture. The heart represents the passion and ego of the king. And we also go through the personification, giving human traits to the non-human things. The sculpture's art captures passion that yet survive on lifeless things. This is personification. The lifeless ruin has no ruin, and the lifeless statue has no life, but it says lots of things. This is personification. And the entire ruined statue serves as an extended metaphor for the fragility, political power, human tyranny, ruthlessness, boastfulness, and supreme authority of time, ultimately which these all are futile. None of these survives against the law of the nature, law of the time. So, what does Ozymandias teaches us? It is a chilling reminder. Ozymandias, the poem Ozymandias is a chilling reminder of what? That no matter how much power you hold, no matter how much wealth you hold, no matter how much, how long your empire was, time is the ultimate ruler. The time is the ultimate teacher. Against time, no empire, no power, no wealth, no tyranny, no ruthlessness, no boastfulness survives. In the end, the kings turn to dust. The monument turns to ash. And only the stories we leave behind remains. The story, here the story Ozymandias remains. Like Ozymandias, all the kings, empires, emperors, empress, and even the general people like us, we left behind us our story. It may be simple, it may be great. Do not let your ego build. Do not make your ego build that the sands of the time will eventually swallow. Previously I have said, ego, personal ego is the source of, one of the source and the striking source of all these evils of our character. Boastfulness, ruthlessness, biasedness, and showmanship. And the king and the emperors generally have all these and many other evils that they carry with them, and many of them are then part and parcel of their life. But all these will destroy one day. Time will. When time will come, time will destroy all these evil qualities along with this ego. Like Ozymandias, everything is perishable, everything is things to decay, nothing is immortal. So you have to learn this hard and harsh truth of life through this poem.